When I was a little girl, the first thing we would do when we went to school was to say the Pledge of Allegiance and sing some kind of patriotic song, whether it was the national anthem or My Country 'Tis of Thee or America the Beautiful or something. Nowadays, that doesn't happen. It happens in some schools, but not in most. And this is very sad and scary, considering the threats that we now have to face. Also, since 9/11, our country, some of the people in our country, have lost their fighting spirit. I'm going to talk more about this later as well. On top of this, the election has divided us. So half the country is fighting with the other half, and we're so busy fighting amongst ourselves that we're not paying attention to the outside threats and how and why we all need to pull together. Just this week, of course, the newest threat is North Korea. I know what you're thinking. It's not a new threat. It's been around for quite a while. But at the same time, the actual power of the missiles that they were testing was not one that could threaten us in any real way. In fact, we laughed when some of the missiles went up and came down before they did anything. But now we just have found out that in fact the latest missile that they shot up in the air can reach America. It can reach Alaska. So it's not a joke anymore. It's a real threat. Now, how much can our psyche take? Will this new threat, this more powerful threat from North Korea, push us over the edge? I don't mean in terms of pushing the button, the nuclear button, but I mean, will it push us over the edge psychologically? How much threat can we take? Just as we've been having a hard time wrapping our heads around the increase in terrorist attacks in Europe the past couple of years, we now have to contemplate this additional threat that we weren't really focusing on sufficiently because it didn't seem like a real imminent threat, and that is North Korea. We used to think of him as kind of a crazy, pesky fellow who had an inferiority complex, and he needed to keep shooting up these missiles so that people would pay attention to him and think he was powerful and so on. Well, now it's gone beyond that. Now we have to acknowledge that it could actually be a real serious threat. So, how much terror can our psyches take? Again, one of the things that worry me as a psychiatrist is that since 9/11, some of us have been feeling like abused children. In other words, when there was this first attack on American soil of 9/11, it has made some people feel like abused puppies who are just kind of anticipating the next abuse. And that could be, of course, more terror attacks or now North Korea. We need to gather, instead of being like a cowering puppy, we need to be tougher and gather our patriotism and our strength so that we will be able to fight together as a country whatever threat is coming towards us. Now, just this week in Poland, President Trump gave a speech. He said, quote, "The fundamental question of our time is whether the West has the will to survive. Do we have the confidence in our values to defend them at any cost? Do we have enough respect for our citizens to protect our borders? Do we have the desire and the courage to preserve our civilization in the face of those who would subvert and destroy us?" Now, these are really important questions. What do you think? Well, I'll tell you the truth, I'm worried. Our country just celebrated July 4th, Independence Day, the day that Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence from the British Empire. What did you do? I know some of us were very patriotic and hung flags from our house or from our cars and did patriotic things, but then there are some who just thought, well, okay, July 4th, that's barbecue day. Now, that wouldn't be you, I know that. But some of us, and too many of us, to worry me. because there's been a trend when people are at public events where they sing the national anthem and they bring out the flag. There's been a trend for more and more people not to sing along, and certainly not to put their hand over their heart, which they're supposed to do when they see the flag or even when they just sing the national anthem. And that is worrisome at a time when we are under attack more than ever on our soil. Now, I think a big part of the problem is the schools. Because as I was saying, when I was a little girl, we used to start the day with this, and it wasn't just mouthing the Pledge of Allegiance and a patriotic song. It was really feeling it. I mean, I can remember standing in the front of the class and with my hand over my heart and saying these words and really feeling it. And kids don't do that these days. And a lot of it is because the schools don't encourage this and the parents don't encourage this. We need to go back to these, these days when now it's like, oh, I'm too cool to do all that, right? Well, now it's needed more than ever. And it's not, some people think it's like flaunting American superiority if you do that. Well, hello, we really do have a lot to be grateful for in this country. And then, of course, we have people who are role models like Colin Kaepernick, who refused to stand for the national anthem and has influenced kids when he didn't do it. And then, of course, as I've been saying, this fighting that we're doing, infighting amongst ourselves, political infighting, which is really destroying a lot of our patriotic spirit. Well, with threats and attacks on all fronts, we absolutely need to bring back patriotism before it's too late.